In this video, we're going to show you how to change the look and layout of your website in the Template Designer. Pretty much every website has the basic formula of 4 sections: a menu bar for navigation, the header, the actual page, and a footer. Now the footer, the header, and the menu bar will remain consistent no matter what page you are on. So if you go to a different page, the only thing that changes is the actual page area. Okay, let's click the Template Designer button in the dashboard. At the top, we have some basic settings. First up is whether you want to show your menu bar or not. In most cases, the answer is yes, but if you have a small scrolling website, which we will cover later, you may not need a menu bar. Next is corner radius. This will slightly round off the corners of your page elements, like the calendar, the guest book, forms, or even buttons. It's currently set to 3 pixels, but you could change it to 5 or 0, which would give you a sharp corner, with no rounding at all. And then we have the header and footer. By default, we set up a standard example of a footer for you. And you can change what's in here to anything you want, or you may choose not to have a footer at all, so we allow you to turn that off. Or maybe you want a different header for each page. In that case, you would turn off the header and just place a different image or logo or whatever at the top of each page. Or again, if you go with a scrolling website, you don't need them at all. Okay, now we're going to skip down to the bottom of the Template Designer. Here you can add up to 3 custom fonts to your website. Now a properly designed website should not use any more than 4 fonts, but usually 1 or 2 is fine. We'll cover more on fonts in another video, but basically when you want to add a font, you simply hover your cursor over each one to see what the letters and numbers look like. And if you find one you like, you simply click on it, and it turns green to let you know that it's selected. And you can click on it again to turn it off. And when you click Save Changes, it adds those font options to your page. Okay, now we're going to cover this middle area. This is where you set the color scheme of your website. Each box covers a different aspect of your website. The first one is for the menu bar. If you click the color box, you get a color picker. Here you can change the hue of color you want and then choose the shade of that color. When you get the exact color you want, just click anywhere outside of the color picker to close it and set that color. And when you do, it takes effect on the sample button above. And this button is a representation of what your menu bar will look like based on the colors selected. We have the static background color, the background hover color, the font color, and the font hover color. So let's change them and see what happens. As you can see, it reacts according to the colors selected. Now if you like the changes you made, you can go up here and save changes. Now we want to show changes, and there you have it. Now obviously we're not going to select some crazy colors like that, but there's really no limitations. You can do whatever you want. And over here we can change the background color of the site, as well as the default font color and the text link colors. And the changes show up immediately in the sample box above. And if you don't like the changes you made, you can click the undo button in each box and it will return it back to the way it was. But if I click the undo button for the menu bar, it does nothing. That's because I already saved changes and closed the Template Designer, so there's nothing to undo. But if I make changes now, I can undo until I leave the Template Designer. The undo button will only undo any changes that were made since the window was opened. Now let's jump down here to the buttons section. You basically have 4 buttons, plus a PayPal button. And the same principles apply here. On the sample homepage, we have all 5 buttons on there, so when we make changes, we can see them on the page. Now these 3 areas don't have a sample area at the top because they are a little bit different. For table background colors and custom font colors, what you're actually setting is the default colors that will show up in the color picker palette for those objects, and we'll cover that in the other videos. Form colors affect the contact form, email list form, calendar, and guest book. Over here on the right hand side, we have some pre-designed color schemes. When you click on one of them, It reloads the template designer and fills all the boxes with those preset colors. And when we find one we like, we can click Save Changes to apply it to our website. Or maybe you like one of the color schemes, but you want to tweak it a little bit. That's okay too. You just make the changes as you normally would. Now the last feature is to back up your color scheme and restore it. You won't need this if you're using a preset color scheme from the list, but let's say you made your own customized color scheme. Then a few months down the road you decide you want to change it. Well, before you make your changes, you want to back up your current color scheme so you can revert back to it in case you don't like the changes you made. Once you click the backup button, the colors currently set in the template designer, meaning what you are currently looking at, will be backed up. We get our confirmation. Then we can make our changes or even select from a different preset on the side. Okay, nothing looks good to me and I want to go back to what I had. I click the Restore button, and there you go, back to what we had. And of course, you would click Save Changes to apply it to your website. And that's it for the template designer.